Welcome to Dungeon Crafting. I'm your host, Mada Zitro, and we are back again, keeping strong with the idea that we are creating, um, we are going to be creating dungeons. That is the objective of this stream. Man, I need to figure out if I should write an intro before talking, because man, this is all over the place. Anyway, let me just start that over real quick. But anyway, I'm Mada Zitro. I'm the host of Dungeon Crafting, what I call the art of dungeon building or crafting on YouTube. And this is our second stream. The first one I felt went well. We had a good audience for me starting off. And I just wanted to continue with that. I've done some things since our last stream, since our last video. I have to fix that camera. I see how that looks. So yeah, I've worked on the dungeon, the Lair of Moloch, for a bit on my own. I didn't feel up to streaming, but I felt also I could. Whew, I could remedy that by working on the map on my own and then bringing it to you guys and going over it. Not that you're only going to see content that I've done. I'm going to continue working on it with you, as this is somewhat collaborative, but that's pretty much it. And now let's just jump into it. If you've missed where we were last time, I read up on the lore of Moloch. Read up on Moloch for you guys from Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, where we learned that Moloch was once a powerful archdevil in the service of Asmodeus. Specifically, he was a ruler of one of the layers of the Nine Hells and led a rebellion against Asmodeus, and did not go as well as he wanted. He was banished, as Asmodeus is wont to do, not killed outright. Asmodeus chose. Get the yawns out of the way now. Chose to banish him from the Nine Hells and force him into the form of an imp if he should ever return. So Moloch often enters the Nine Hells now as a imp, plotting and scheming, and eventually gathering his forces and strength once more to prepare for another invasion in the Nine Hells against Asmodeus himself. The difficulty becomes that in our world, Moloch is imprisoned in the material plane. We have had Moloch enter the material plane in a feud of anger and power grab. He used his physical power to wage battles and minor wars against nations and start to force them to bend their knee, bring him resources, gold, magic items, anything he could get his hands on, forcing people to swear fealty, making deals, always in his favor, trying to mass that power back up to find a way so he could return to the Nine Hells. However, a group of adventurers, along with a host of wizards, made a war against Moloch, found his lair, destroyed it as best they could. Not able to defeat Moloch, they decided to imprison him within his very own lair. And that's where we are. We are in Moloch's lair, where the wizards have defeated a large part of his forces, removing his capability of marshaling armies and sending them to the surface, for his lair is underground, within a mountain and hidden, unable to be scryed on. The wizards have now imprisoned him here, and he cannot leave. And it has been centuries and in that time his power has waned dramatically, and Moloch is but a shadow of what he was, but still alive. Now, this layer is more designed for after all of that, the wizards collapsed all entrances, removed from records the location of this place, put wards that prevented scrying, and some teleportation magic as well. And with that, we now find ourselves here. The beginning of the layer we have drawn up as this location here. This tunnel that has been dug out and dug out and has breached through to the entrance of Moloch, not from the direct route, but from one of the walls, and they've broken it up. I might have to put less rocks because it seems a bit. If I ungroup that, just got a lot. Stone. Might take that one and this one out. Break it up a little bit. That might look good. And then I'll just regroup all that stone. Alright, so I'm not going to do too much editing of what we've done here, but that just looks a little too mediocre. And then we'll add the shadow, or let's add a middle shadow, just so it looks a little different from the rocks up there. Alright, that seems fine for me. For now, I'll take that. Does it, though? Yeah. We'll do a nice middle shadow. Alright, so with that, the story goes, you have broken, a tunnel has been created, and charges have been set with arcane magic or maybe black powder, and they destroyed the side and has created a side entrance into Moloch's lair. Entering in through this cave, you see a stone fortress, the makings of a stone construct, the beginning of the Lair of Moloch. You see a staircase going up towards the surface, now covered in large, medium-sized, and even small boulders. The cave is completely unusable and and is almost intraversable. With that, you see these 4 large pillars that hold up this room, this chamber, and a massive, almost 20-foot tall iron gate that like a pork cutlass. You can almost see through it, except instead of revealing the other side of it, you only see black shadow. The gate looks to be filled with thick bars, heavy stonework, and pretty much unmovable. You see 2 iron chains on opposite sides used to raise or even lower it. Wouldn't the chains be on the inside? Yeah, the chains would be on the inside, so we're going to remove that little detail. But maybe they find 2 levers on the left and right, or something like that. Maybe they find a lever on the right side of the gate, something like that. And there's a safety switch on this other side that stops that from actually working. So with that, they see those, and that's all they really gather. We do not have to identify the torches, the bears, because they're very small details. I've decided that I'm gonna remove them later before importing them into the map. I'm going to make them their own thing. So what I'll do is I'll hide them, right? I'll take them all, but I will make them in a separate layer, save them over, and then like in a separate, in a separate file, and make them the way I want by themselves, and then export them as such, and then put them in dungeon in Roll20 like that, because I have not been able to figure out why they don't follow. When I want to change the glow here, it changes the glow for everything. So, or everything that uses a glow effect. So that's pretty much it. But we're gonna leave them there so I remember that there are torches and that we have that effect. And then we also have the warning sign, a glass kind of 2-slab warning where it describes maybe a riddle, but mainly brings up the idea of a warning and a riddle. So it says, this is the lair of a creature that should not have been allowed should not have been allowed to exist in our plane. Without the means to destroy him, we've imprisoned him. And in that imprisonment, we have taken the necessary steps as its warden, to protect his resurgence to the world. Those who dare to disturb this, face death. I shouldn't have scrolled forward. I was bored reading, and I scrolled forward again. Now you guys see it. And that's it. And with that, I should probably move this over so you guys can see it a little better. I need to take into account the overlay. But with this room, we have the starter location. Then the people can, we're using this in Roll20, they can move their tokens in. And we've wrapped up by saying what is the trap, what is the puzzle, what is the timer. Let's say the puzzle is this iron gate will not open through normal means. No amount of strength will open it. However, if each of the 4 torches in this room are lit, once a player puts their flame upon it, it will erupt in green flame. And that green flame is a important distinction, because if you're using a regular torch, and this one erupts into green flame, there's something about it. It won't trigger the traps, but it will be one down for the puzzle to be completed. Once all 4, the gate will slowly start to open. Now, what is the trap? The trap is upon trying to open the gate by any means other than the puzzle, the pillars in the room will start to turn and grind, and as they do, poison mist will spray out, not just like a gas, but like wet. It will splash over their faces and clothes, and they'll breathe it in. It'll seep into their blood through the skin and start to deal poison damage to them every round until they get out. So we'll start with something small. As it starts, it'll go to 2d6 poison damage. Everyone in the room make a Constitution saving throw, or take 2d6 poison damage. Now, it sounds small at first, but that's 2d6 poison damage to everyone. That's the importance about knowing what kind of traps and rooms you're going to be creating. You need to know the distinction between a combat encounter where someone can hit someone with a poison ability and something like 2d6 in an AoE towards the whole group. So they'll be able to make a Constitution saving throw. They will do so, and if they, upon failure, they'll take 2d6 poison damage, or maybe half that. I think it'll be half. I don't think there's a I think half is fine. You take half because it'll be a mist opposed to just a gas. I want it to be really a situation where They say, "Can I hold my breath?" And I can retort with, "It's not just a gas form; it sprays on your skin, and you can feel it drip down, like a squirt bottle in a way, where it's all over your face, and you're gonna have to get it off of you." So it'll be 2d6 at the start of the round. Um, and since they're taking half damage, I do not know if I have to increase it, but I feel like 2d6 every turn might not hit home. I don't want to start higher than that, but what I could do is I can roll a d4, right? I've learned this trick from Runehammer and his um, great tutorials on how to play D&D like a badass, and I don't want to make this let's talk out the mechanic in the game. Like, okay, they trigger the trap. They have no torches lit. They one round they immediately before the initiative rolls goes, they all take 2d6 poison damage, right? At the start of the round. And then we roll initiative. And it's, will it be a surprise? No. So what I'll do is I'll have the poison come out, right? And I'll say everyone roll initiative. And at the top of every round, the poison rule will go first. So the poison will go, okay, at the start of the round, everyone takes 2d6 poison damage. Moving forward at the end of the next round, when it starts again, it will be 2d6 poison damage again. Okay, how about that? We'll do 2d6, let's see what the average amount of damage that is. I'm gonna open my calculator real quick. You guys can't see it, but if 3 is the average, so we're thinking about 6 damage, right? That's not what I used the calculator for, not 3 plus 3. But let's say in my scenario, I have a group of, I think we have 5 or 6 now. About 6. So that's 36 points of damage in the first opening round. Baseline. Let's shave some off. Let's shave a 6 off of that, right? Just say we roll really, really bad. Let's say we do 30 points of damage, right? 30 points of damage in round 1 is a lot. Even if it's spread across everyone, because that's a fighter's, they're gonna have to start deciding, do I use a health potion now? Do I save it for later? When I save it for later, do I use the health potion or do I use a healing spell? What level do I use it for? Let's say if I've been generous enough to say that if 3 is the average, right, which is 6 damage, you know, a person times 6 is 36 to everyone, and I shaved 6 damage off of that, right, and made it a flat 30, and we do that a second time, that's 60 damage. I know I don't need my calculator for this, but I need the visual aid for me to see 60. 60 is a lot of damage in 2 rounds. If we have 6 players playing, which I think is how many we have now, that's a lot spread across everyone. And I don't know if they are going to figure it out within 2 rounds. So what happens? The next round passes, that's another 30 damage. That's now 90 damage they've all as a group taken. This room is killing them. So, at minimum, they take 30. Now, I don't know, let's say your players are really smart. Let's say they do figure out the puzzle. As soon as the poison hits, they take it. One person runs over, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They light the torch, they light the torch, they light the torch, they light the torch, right? The gate slowly starts to come up. Now their turn is over, however. They're still gonna take another 30 because the gate is the puzzle is complete, but the gate hasn't raised yet. It's not a instant, elevator. I mean, like elevator. It's not an automatic door. It's got a lift. The traps, snap, snap, snap. You hear the grinding of metal, and then the chains slowly start to rise up. So, as that happens, the next round comes, and they take another 30. That's 60. So at minimum, no matter what, there's no way they can take less than 60 on average damage. And we've been generous, so it should really be more like 70 on average. But we're hitting the baseline, 60 points of damage. So now, they've on the first turn they took the poison. The second turn they figured out the puzzle. The third turn they still have to use their movements to get there. So let's say someone's here. So that's 1, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, right? Then he's gonna take the dash action to get through, right? So 5, 10, 15, he's out. What if someone used more movement? So if we go with the baseline of 60, I think we don't have to worry about increasing 2d6 poison damage every turn. 2d6 poison damage is enough to kill a random adventurer who has stumbled into this thing. It is enough to kill high-powered adventurers who cannot figure this out. And if they do, our point is not to kill them, it is to soften them up and let them know that this layer is protected, not just by whatever creatures lurk within the Lair of Moloch, but from the wizards who imprisoned him. And that's where we're going to end with that. So let's move forward to what the next thing I worked on off stream, and that is what I call the way down. We do not have to draw transition hallways to other locations or other rooms. We don't have to do that. You could settle with just drawing every room. Why you would need to is if every part of the if you want to clarify or build up still the tension of what is going on. Now they're running out. Let's say they've taken their 60 points of damage. They're getting out of there before they take another round of free damage. They start running down. I've created this, what I call the way down, as that's right here. Starting from here, we have 6, 12. Sorry, got that wrong. The way down is 18 feet. 18 feet. 18 squares across, which is 90 feet. 90 feet being 3 full rounds of normal movement. No dash action. Why is that important? Because as they start to run down, I will have a trap in place either here, a pressure plate here, and probably here. Something like that, right? And if they touch any one of these on the way down, either through running fast or not making perception checks, stuff like that, they will trigger a pressure plate, and that will release a boulder trap. Now the boulder trap will spring immediately, will slam in its initial moment. It will slam down from around here and be pushed by arcane force up to this point. So it will slam down it'll go and then push forward, roll towards the edge of the stairs. They will see it. Look, they will hear the slam. They won't know immediately what it is. They'll turn over and see that it's right at the cusp. And right at the cusp, and they say, "Oh, I start running down the stairs." You say, "No." Everyone roll initiative. And now we have another encounter going. You can have it be freeform. You could say everyone gets to go before the boulder, or you can say the boulder moves half its movement. You don't have to make it initiative, but you could. Make sure that either you've if you're doing a trap like the poison room, what I call here the iron gate, because though you're dealing with poison, you're really trying to get through this iron gate. Um, you could call it the grinding pillars or something if you wanted. But I have the poison going at the top of the round because it's a consistent effect that needs to be addressed, and because of because of its effect, you need to react. That's my logic behind it. Because the poison is going around, you need to figure out the puzzle. The boulder can be something different. If you don't want to roll initiative and you have the boulder start going, remember it moves, I think 30 feet, 30 or 60, something like that. It can't take the dash action. It's not a living creature, but let's say it moves 30. They've got 3 rounds to get to the bottom of this. Plenty of time. It's plenty of time. It's much easier than this trap. However, this is a staircase going straight down. If anyone takes the dash action on these stairs, you have them make a dexterity saving throw. On a failure, they go prone. So, you now turn an easy encounter. Okay, we just got out of the poison. Let's start healing. Wait, we hear the thing. The boulder starts to go over. We've all stopped just outside of it because, let's say, they want to make perception checks before they move forward or something, right? But you have that character who's like, I move my character token a little bit further down, and he hits the pressure plate. Now, because he's hit the pressure plate, the boulder traps get started. Everyone is right here. Everyone goes, oh, and I just moved 30 feet, okay, and then I take the dash action. You could have, now that they've taken that action, they make the dexterity saving throw, they succeed, they keep going. But the next person goes, shit, what if I fail that? I'm only a wizard. And I'm a dwarf. I've got 25 feet of movement. Do I move the safe 25 and risk the saving throw to get down faster? I can't take that boulder. I've just taken 30, if not more damage. Not 30, well, like, not 30. You know what I mean, though. So it starts to create tension, and that's all you're here to do. Create more and more tension. I'm going to remove these pressure plates because that's not where I'm going to put them. And they don't need to be there for the map. You could just mark them for yourself on a GM overlay in Roll20, something like that. Or keep in mind, whenever they move more than 15 feet, they have to make a check. So, or you could trigger it yourself. You'd be like, halfway down, you guys trigger the boulder trap. And remember, it's about instilling, stop skipping ahead and showing them what we're doing. And it doesn't have to be, we're not here to kill the players. The players kill themselves. You don't need to help them with that. You are here to create scenarios, traps, puzzles, combat encounters that put them in a position to take damage, to burn spell slots, to take short rests, to use up the resources that they have before they get to the end of boss. Because he's a boss. A boss has minions. A boss has people protecting him. He has things protecting him. He does not fight unless you get to him. And to get to him, you need to go through the grinding trials and tribulations. Which is why I always express to people, CR, just because something's like a CR 10 does not mean because it's a fair fight when you face him. Because a smart dungeon master should be expending your resources in ways that create a more tense and dramatic fight when you reach him. Now, if people are able to sneak past, sneak into the castle and fight the Overlord by himself in his chambers for 10 rounds before the guards get there, then awesome. Great job. Doesn't happen often. Um, and that's all I'll have to say about this. You know, we got the poison trap, we got the boulder trap, and then we have a brief calm before what we give the players a more comfortable um, uh, dungeon encounter. And that's this thing that I've been scanning through and briefly showing you guys. Um, we have this room, which I call the Martial Hall. It's not completed yet, but I want to describe to you what this is. The Martial Hall is where the minions of Moloch from here and here and here. There'll be room. Maybe I'll make the tunnel a little bit like another 5 feet more, so it distinguishes that these are hallways. But they will be covered in rubble because the wizards blasted them with lightning or used earth tremor and stuff like that to bring down this area. They used fire. They used everything they could to get out or get in. However way they went. Maybe they dealt with Moloch first. You know, they bound him to his private his throne room, and then had to get out and seal the rest of this place up. Whatever it may be. We have the lore. We add the lore that this is a marshalling hall where the goblins and orcs or whatever creatures Moloch has summoned to his side has rallied. Anyway, that was my cat shredding a box and then looking at me as if I am just, what are you gonna do about it? You're streaming. So anyway, let's move forward. Let's see. Now she's looking at me again as if to turn around and do it again. So this is the marshalling hall where the hordes would come in, they'd pour up and launch their assaults to the surface. I wanted it to be an early room, so that way I had more creative freedom in the future to be like, well, where are the barracks? Where's the they would be down these halls, but they are barricaded. They're not barricaded. They are the tunnels have long collapsed and nothing can really get through them anymore. That allows us to free up not only the idea of having one later in the future, like a side-off room. We don't need that. It's just a one-shot. And my one-shots are not as cannot be as long because of the timing schedule I have with the players and myself. So we've now closed off these 4 routes. What do we have now? Because of that, we need to limit the creatures we now move forward. We're not using goblins, we're not using orcs or that kind of stuff. This layer has been abandoned. The followers of Moloch were killed or crushed, or left to die, and it is silence. They run down, the boulder keeps going, maybe it goes down the hall, maybe we put something in the middle to break up that movement, and it slams into it and crushes it. What I think what we can do is we can put the warning we put here. They had also put a warning here, but it is now smashed to pieces. And it cannot allow, and there's not enough words to help them figure out what's in here. And this isn't a puzzle. If the players go to a brazier and be like, oh, let's start lighting the braziers, they put the torch to the brazier, it lights up, but it is not the green flame they saw before. It is just a simple fire they've now created that sheds light across the room. And with that, we now introduce our first combat encounter. No real puzzle. However, what I will introduce is broken ground, creating not only difficult terrain, but not in the sense of movement, but breaking up movement. We have right here what I drew out and painted in around this pillar, a crack within the ground, in case someone wants to run down and go immediately here. They have to funnel. It'll funnel people that way, or it'll funnel someone to squeeze through here. And that small choice that we give somebody can be the difference between the encounter turning more. It'll spice up the encounter because you gotta hate when people are clumped, because I get it, but not all my monsters have a fireball to like be like unclump. You want them to spread out. You want them to have to use movement. You don't want to create these big, massive rooms to force them to constantly use their movement. You want to break it up in different ways. Give them things to hide behind. Give them things that they might fall into. Things they have to run around, climb on top of. You can use some difficult terrain in some areas to slow them down, but also give them a scenario where they don't want to always use their full movement because they need to just get behind cover and not anywhere else. Or running their full distance won't get them to the monster in time, and being in front of the monster without their action to attack or stuff use a spell or something might put them in a dangerous spot. They don't want to be standing in front of the beholder with its magic eye. So we could do something like that. So yeah, so with that, I'm gonna start adding stuff to this with you guys for a bit. We're gonna add something similar. I've got a hole here that will drop them about maybe 10 feet, if not 15 feet down. I think 10 is good. 10 feet means I get to do some damage to them. 10 feet means they can climb back up and get back into the fight. Yeah, I think 10 feet is good. And it'll also introduce fall damage, which is something we want to incorporate. With everything we do, we want to have a sign of it from in the future. So we have a poison trap that does 2d6 damage, introducing the ideas of traps. We have a puzzle that will allow them to get to safety, the idea that there are puzzles further on in the dungeon. And there are warnings that will allow them to get a taste of what might be happening in that room, to give them maybe an edge. Maybe even though the boulder shatters across the warning sign, one's tablet, because it was enchanted, magically has a good chunk, and it says it gives them some warning that they could make a guess at. Regardless, we're in our first combat encounter, and we need to use the lore of the world we're creating, the story, to create the combat encounter. We can't just litter this with random monsters. So it's abandoned, but it wasn't abandoned at first. The wizards came through here, firing off shots, trying to push forward or push back, and they blocked the tunnels, so his forces could never marshal out of the stronghold again. And then they decided what would they leave here to continue to protect it. They've already put a trap back there, and they put a secondary trap, a boulder trap with an arcane boulder. What else would they bring? Let's say they're out of traps. They're not out of traps, but let's say a different wizard was in charge. They were like, what do you think we could put here in case those things failed? And he decides, fuck it, if traps won't work, we need a creature or creatures to protect this place. Things that will leave no remains, no warning, that will not only kill intruders but dissolve them. We put gelatinous cubes within this layer to gather, to engulf the bones of the fallen. When they enter this room and they use their light sources, they notice no bones littered here. They see the remnants of a battlefield, but without bones, without weapons scattered about, without armor slung over, or um, anything visible other than charred marks, a hole in the ground, disintegrated rubble, like that kind of stuff. But the floor looks immaculate in most regards. They push forward, and one of them sees um, a suit of armor, preserved, standing, hovering above the ground. They walk closer to it, and a fist forms from within the center and punches the adventurer in the face, taking a bunch of acid damage. And then we have the gelatinous cubes. We need to fall back to the principle, not the principle, the information we have, which is we have 6 adventurers. I don't want to just have one random hole here. And I love the concept of the gelatinous cube being left by the wizards, but I don't think they're strong enough. Now, we're not looking for a combat encounter that we're not looking for a combat encounter that kills players, but they are all 9th level. Throwing like 6 cubes in here to meet that quota does not sound fun. Okay, it sounds a little fun. It sounds really fun. 6 gelatinous cubes in here. That could be crazy. But I don't want to do that. I don't want it to just be. Oh man, but that would be so cool. 6 gelatinous cubes. Man. Gelatinous cubes. Gelatinous cubes and another creature. We can mix it up. We don't have to decide right now. Cuz we have one hole in this room. I was thinking we could have a creature that burrows and has stumbled into this lair and not often looks for stuff, but at the time of hearing all the noise, because they have tremor sense, they would be like, oh, let's investigate. Why don't we have a much bigger hole around this area? Let's do that. And because of that, that will also give us the option to have more broken up ground where they're like, we need a funnel this way, or the cubes are too much, we need to just keep moving on. They're not our goal, stuff like that. Let's block off this entrance, this next area. To clarify, I have thought that it would be a good idea to branch the dungeon, even though I don't have a lot of time for my sessions. I will take off that day so that way I can devote as much time as I can for people to complete the Lair of Moloch. But I still want branching paths in case we want to run it again, maybe, or they want to go the different path. But I don't have one set up. But we can set one up now and have it be, well, you go down the first path and you see this chasm filled with broken bridges, and everyone's like, fuck that, I'm not risking insta death to get through this room. Let's go back and go down those staircase we saw. Then they go down the staircase to the Warforge, where Moloch's armors and weapons and huge siege weapons were being constructed by some other entity, and who is still there, bound by a contract he signed with Moloch, regardless of the fact that Moloch is no longer as powerful as he once was. The contract is binding. So, with those 2 tidbits set, I still want to put like a chasm or hole here, but a much bigger one than anything else. Let's see. Let's go over how I made this one, and we can do that. So I'm gonna save just because stream layer 1. Now we can do some breakdown. Let me get a little bit closer, but when I get closer, it does that. So anyway, I've been streaming for a bit, so to those who are watching, welcome to the stream. Feel free to follow, send some love. It's all appreciated. So I'm gonna go to objects, not in dungeons, but in caves. That's how I made this layer. What I'm looking for, I keep shrinking in my chair. Why hasn't anyone said anything? You guys are just, damn. I've been sinking in my chair slowly as the stream has gone on. God damn it. Anyway, let's get something like this 10-foot one. I mean, not 10 foot, but like this huge 10 by 10 one, because it has a lot of nooks and crannies that I want to use. But we're gonna just scale it down to something like this. Oh, that works too. Maybe I can put it in a way where there's a ledge, so that way they don't have to. That way they don't have to go the long way around. They might be able to risk going through here, and they just have to make a dexterity check to get through. That would be cool. I like that. Now let's look for something like this. Object. I like it, but we're gonna have to use a custom angle, probably. But first we gotta scale it down. Unstick it from grid. We'll have it go about here. That works. So now we have like this big hole in the ground starting to form. Let's grab something like oh, this looks cool. This one I like. It's got a custom angle going too. I also gotta scale it down. Not that much. How would that look? That looks pretty unnatural. That looks good. I'm looking for unnatural. Or like... Ooh. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, they'll have to... The only thing I don't like about it is that I want something where they can't just jump across it. Or maybe they could. They could say, you know what, instead of having to run around it, I want to jump across it from this side. How hard would that be for us? That would be... Okay, that's fine. We'll do it like that, because giving them options to choose how hard they want to make it is on them, not us. We can make it a standard difficulty. Let's get that to like 65. So now you're saying, okay, is that it? It's a hole. Well, we're gonna fix it up now. I need this to go up there, and then I need it to be grouped and labeled hole 2, so we know what this is. Now we have hole 2 here. There's a couple things we need. We need to not fill it. We're going to remove the black borders by going to terrain paint. We're going to paint terrain, and we're going to go specifically back to castle. Something I didn't mention, I did change the floor texture from the dungeon floor. It just looked too the same, too similar. So I went to castles and I used that terrain texture, and it looks much better. Now what I'm gonna do is the hole, I need to paint, but it needs to be under the martial walls layer, so I don't forget that there's a brazier there. And that's the pillars for that. Where are the pillars for this? Let me grab the pillars for that, which are down there, and put them to the top layer so I know. Alright, so that's done. Now I think I can paint properly with less error. So now we're, where's hole 2? We want to be around hole 2 when I start painting, so it's not far away. And I'm going to start painting now. So I'm just going to do that. Do that, and then get as close as I can, even if it cuts out some of those cross hatchings. Doesn't have to be perfect. And now that you see how I've done that, I don't want to take out too much. I might go back. Let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning. So let's do that again. And let's remove that because I'm on the wrong spot. I want to be near hole 2 when I do this. So let's do that. Let's do this. Let's get the rough outline out. Alright, now that we've done that, let's zoom in more. It's gonna bring us down like that. And I want to zoom in enough so that way I can use a smaller brush. That scorch mark needs to not be deleted. Oh. Yeah, so we're just gonna paint out the we're using the terrain texture like a eraser for the black lines. Just trying to get it as close as we can. Not perfect. Let's remove that because that was too messed up. And you see how we're close to hole 2? So we want that so we can know where these brush marks are going. So here we can have the hole look like, but see how we're gonna have to. I like it like this little, how it's pushed in. And remember, the reason we do these kind of textures, these kind of obstacles, is because not only does it break up an area for them to move, but adding something like this here means they can say, "Can I squeeze through that?" I'm like, sure. You're gonna have to make a dexterity check though, as it is a small gap. It's about 3 feet wide, which gives you plenty of room to move. You know what? Maybe they don't even need a dexterity check, and I just say, sure, you can move through it. It's just going to take 5 more movement than you want to use because you're gonna have to sneak through, move past it. Not sneak past, but walk side to side or something like that. Alright. So now with that, we're basically done. We want to get as much of the black out as possible on the outside so it really pops when we draw black on the inside to define that that's actually where the hole is. So now we have all these brush marks. We're just going to group them together. Group them as Hole to brush. And this, we can really just put somewhere else. We need to look for Scorch though. Scorch 1, which is over here, and we just need to put it to the top of the layer and then put pillars above it. Now we have torch back where it's supposed to be, and now we have the outline of this really big hole in the ground. And it takes up, you know, at base a 10-foot cube, and then maybe this, you know, breaks up some more ground as people have to move around it, you know, or they can't just run through it. They'll have to sneak through here. They'll have to push through here, maybe taking some difficult terrain, or go all the long way, something like that. It may not even have to be difficult terrain. The fact that we've broken up their movement to have to go through this side might be enough. But I don't need to. I don't want to make it a hard statement now. Like, yeah, this is gonna be difficult terrain. So I'm gonna save again before something happens. I'm gonna paint a little more actually on this. Let's find that paint. Hole 2 brush. Go back to black. No, not black. To castle. And I'm gonna just take a little bit more off this. Just because I think we've done remove that. That's too much on one side. Yeah, that's good. Because I want to get mostly the black out, not just the I like the cross hatching. Okay, and with that, I think we're good. I'm gonna paint that in because I don't know what that was, and I'm just gonna combine it with the hole 2. I don't know what that was, and I don't want to waste time on that. So I'm gonna fix it by painting over it and just let that go. We're gonna save one more time because now the hole is complete. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go to dungeons. I'll move this over so you can guys see more of the map. And I'm gonna now just paint inside. I don't need anything that big. Just gonna paint inside. And I think I want it to be under all of this, but so this layer we're just filling in with black. Doesn't have to be neat, really. Just has to hit the interior. Could even make this bigger. And now this black brush we're gonna combine. Now my cat wants to make some more noise. But we're gonna combine this. Not combine it. We're gonna label it hole 2. What did I name the other one? Hole black. So I'll name hole 2 black. Sorry that I keep like tilting my head over because I can't sometimes see where I've left my fingers. And we're just gonna put it underneath everything. Oh look, there's a little heart there. And now that it's there, we just have to paint in anything we missed or messed up. So I'm gonna fill this part in. We don't have to show a bottom to this. Why is it doing that? We'll just put that part above that, and that'll be enough, I think. Nope. There we go. Back to where it was. Alright, I think that's enough for that. I think I'm gonna have to... Whenever I hover the brush over it, it looks weird. I think what I'm gonna have to do still though is paint more of those out. But I think you guys get the idea. I'm gonna be no, I'll use some time. The cat can wait. I'm gonna paint in some more of the cave because I don't want, I mean of the floor. This one looks better because let's get closer. Just use a smaller brush and just take out a nice layer around this. Make it a little bit more jagged. I don't know why it's doing that, but I don't like that. I don't know why it's doing that, but I don't like it. I know that much. Group this. I can't tell how good it's gonna look until I fix that. So, let's figure out this. Anyway, before I mess anything up more, I'm just gonna take a break. I don't know what's going on with that texture. It's not properly. It's not properly. I don't know. It's not properly working. It's not working. So I'm gonna fix that in a second. But anyway, I'm gonna take a small break, guys. I'll be back. Thanks for watching so far. I see that I'm still falling down the chair, but that's just because I'm getting used to it. Anyway, I'll be back. See you in about 5 minutes. Take care. So I think with that done here, we now have if I can put a side by side. I need to zoom out a bit for you guys. I think we have enough broken terrain now. I don't like how this one looks, the whole two, but it works. It doesn't have to be perfect. Searching for perfection is not our game here. However, I think it works well enough to break up another chunk of the environment, giving us more interruption. And that's what we're looking for when designing a more engaging encounter. You can throw more creatures at people. Definitely. It'll bring up that fear factor. It'll bring up some more danger because that's more damage they could be taking. But I think breaking up environments, even in ways you feel may not be immediate or as impactful at first, it can be. Because we do not have a puzzle in this room. However, we do have 6 unlit braziers. If they light one, as I've said before, I'll make the clear distinction between the torches lit in the previous trap puzzle room. Um, so they realize that they don't have to worry about a trap in this room, but the broken up ground um, might need to be broken up a little bit more. I feel like there's just too much open space here for them to flank around and do stuff. Let's see if we can build something else. I'm gonna save here. Layer 1. I think this fine. This is fine. We're gonna leave that as such and not worry about it. I actually think it works well, the bit being that big, large crack. We could even sprinkle stuff in like rocks and pebbles. We're gonna have to do that kind of dressing later on to close off these sections, so we'll save that for later. But for now, let's break this room up a little bit more. So let's add some. Let's stick it to the grid. Let's try to keep this still uniform in some ways. Maybe the boulder rolling down slammed into something and broke it apart. Can put something like, yeah, let's not make it a uniform just circle. Let's make it something like this. See if we can get maybe, yeah, this will work. No, not, get it like that. Maybe it slammed into something and broke in. Let's put it like this. It's 180, and then we can put, for now, a regular straight. But we'll, like I said before, the idea of putting things on their own layer. I have my own layer for a boulder, which I'll use for the encounter purposes, and we can move that however we want later on. So I'll have this built here. That looks cool. I like that. And then we can just put a boulder that has smashed into it. We don't really have to draw the debris or anything. And it does also, this is also not that big enough to say, oh, now you've taken away now 30 more feet of movement from them. No, I think this works really well. We're removing a lot of empty space. And you know what? With this much cover, gelatinous cubes could be such a much bigger threat. But I also feel like I want to put something else in here instead of just cubes. Especially since we have these holes here. So what I'm going to do, let's call this the Marshall Center. I don't have a good name for it. So I'll name that the Marshall Center, because this is the Marshall room, Marshall Hall. They'll fight here, then they'll have to decide if they want to fight everything here or move past it and move on to either the broken bridges or the Warforge. So yeah, I think this room is actually pretty done. I'm gonna save it one more time just to be safe, and I'll save it as my backup too. I'll save it once as that, and then once again as my backup. So let's look at it now. Let's add a shadow effect. I like adding the shadow effects because when they put their light sources in, it'll make it really pop. So let's see. The boulder rolls down the staircase and slams into a hefty piece of stonework, sounding off a crash in the throughout the hall, alerting anything nearby. What do? They walk in, they mind the gaps, they see the first hole, they back up a little, they spread out, they look at the braziers, maybe they run over and light a brazier, see what happens. They notice it has little to no effect aside from creating a light source. What else? They see the warning shattered on the ground. Maybe only one piece of it. Let's add the warning regardless. Maybe only one. It says warning 1. I'm gonna copy that. Copy that. Paste it. We're just gonna move it over to this room. That way we have the same one. We're just gonna stick it. We could stick it like that, as if, because if we put it dead in the front, there would be no way to alert them. They might be able to cast mending on it. Yeah, they would put it here. They'd put it in the middle. They're wizards. Well, I have to stick it to the grid. So I'm gonna move it over a little more. So maybe it was enchanted to be stronger than most glass or something. The boulder smashes into it, and someone takes the time to cast the mending on the broken pieces. They're casting mending, they reform some of the warning side of it before anything, happens. Okay, that could work. We'll name this warning 2. Just so there's a difference if we need to move those layers around. And I think we're set, guys. I think we now have our first 3 rooms. I'll add some dressing along with you guys just so we get that. Make this room really pop instead of just... Because they will look around those halls and be like, can I go down there? And we're going to say no. So let's get some stone. Search an object so we can find it better. Here's my dog. Hello. Hello, doggo. Stone fence. Why would there be a stone fence? Anyway. Let's get some stones. So let's just put a set of 3. We'll make it like that. Then we'll make another one, and then a third. And just say those areas. I will put more. Doesn't hurt to put more detail. It'll really make the room pop. Something like that. Trying to mix up the ones we have. Doesn't have to be too crazy, detailed. Just has to give off the effect that there's too much rubble to get through. Let's move that over. Make it look more like that. Break it up a little more. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, but every now and then just give it some more effort. Alright, and with that, what we're gonna do is shift grab all of these stones. We're gonna group them. Marshall Hall dressings. And then we're gonna add long shadows. We'll let the room pop, which brings me back to my idea over here. Let's give this a long shadow too. Leave it as a popping color. Let everything bring some sort of shade and darkness. Let it conform well with each other. So I think that's it though. So we've got pillars that they could hide behind. We have the warning. We have some more broken ground. We have holes that they could fall through. They could easily still fall through this hole here. They would definitely fall through this hole if something happened. And I think we can say for now we don't have to. I'll give you some suggestions, but let's say they did fill this room with gelatinous cubes. You could do 3 to 4 of them would be fun. 6 would be overwhelming, but still fun. From giving them the idea that this is a fucking fight, and this is probably a war of attrition that they will not win. Even if they do take out these gelatinous cubes, they're gonna face some serious. They're gonna burn a lot to do so, and they may have to just flee. So do they go back? So do they go down to the left path and go through the Warforge? Or do they go through the broken bridges? Getting to the Warforge, they see a brief glimpse into the room. This massive chamber of chains and racks of weapons, of not just a few, but like dozens of rows of swords and axes and armor. And you feel this warmth as if the forges are still being used to this day. And we can do stuff like that. And then in the broken bridges, they just see this endless chasm. Well, not endless. They wouldn't be able to see to the other side, but they see a chasm in which there are bridges that were once connecting to the opposite side. All of them have been now sundered, and jump after jump will need to be made to cross them, giving them a more a difficult challenge than just fighting something. They might have to use spells like fly and levitate, or something like jump, and that'll give them more ways to get to the end. But I think that's all I have for now. I don't think I want to work on any of those 2 rooms. Both of those rooms will connect to the end of the Lair of Moloch. What I have as like the honoring chamber just before his throne. Before you get to his throne, because I've mentioned I do have time constraints with my gaming sessions. I still want this to be something we strive to complete, and that other people, if given the time, could use them in their own game, and we can run them through that. They can run themselves through it because they have more time to spend in each room. Maybe they go back and clear one room and then go back and clear the other, and then maybe their dungeon master opens up the rubble from some of these and adds more wings to this. So that's stuff you guys can do on your own if you want. I won't stop you from that, but for now I think I'm done with dungeon crafting. For now, that was Lair of Moloch. I think we are hitting a good dynamic. A different option I want to bring up is I did have this idea before, which was kind of the reason I started developing the holes, that I might have wanted a creature to be come through here and use like their tremor sense to feel the disturbance now within these stone and be like, maybe there's food there. And you could use an assortment of creatures. The one that comes to mind for me is an Umber Hulk. I think a large Umber Hulk coming through here, even to seeing the group and lurking in the shadows, could be really fun, and keeping the gelatinous cubes in. So if you were to add an Umber Hulk, you could bring in 2 gelatinous cubes, or if you brought in 2 Umber Hulks, you could still keep 2 gelatinous cubes, or have the room swarming. I don't know. There's a lot that we could use. I just do recommend that you keep the flavor of the story so far. This prison now of Moloch is being protected by wizards who have created multiple traps at this point, and now I would try to keep the idea of the gelatinous cubes. Those are something. Those are monstrosities that they could create, or not. I don't really know what they're called. Oozes, I guess, that they could create in defense of this location. You could use Umber Hulk still. It does not mean you would have to take the gelatinous cubes out, because though the wizards were like, we'll summon some gelatinous cubes, we'll keep them here, we won't need to feed them, they can just stay here forever, and whenever an adventurer is stupid enough and lucky enough to make it past our traps, they'll be met with these creatures. But then, of course, you know, these holes pop out. These holes could have been made by the wizards casting spells, or the monsters of Moloch being so powerful that they break the foundation of the stonework. But I like it to think that maybe some creatures came in through here at some point or another, found no food and left, maybe, but are close enough when the adventurers make this large ruckus that they sense more food and start coming in. You could do like hook horrors, or anything really from the Underdark. You could do a monstrosity. You could even have like a mini purple worm, like, who is fresh from, you know, birth, searching for food, hears the tremor, and just leave him stuck in this area. You know, he lunges out, and maybe a 20-foot, he has like a 20-foot reach, he lunges out and he tries to eat them, and they need to get past him, because fighting him, they could fight him, they could kill him. You could use a purple worm. You could use tons of things. So try to be creative, and that's where I'm going to end it, guys. So thanks for watching. Feel free to throw us a follow. It's much appreciated. Give us a sub if you got a free one, or if you just want to throw $5 towards us. It really helps promote me creating more content for you guys other than Heroes of Phandalin, which will be live this Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So check that out. And maybe we'll do another stream and focus on creating magic items. So yeah, thanks for watching, and Mada Zitro. I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. I don't know how to end these things, so I'm just gonna fade to black. I don't have a fade to black. Let's do a fade to intermission, followed by a fade to be right back. But we won't be right back. Maybe in the next video.